Hey, this is Matthew with Another World Terraria. In this video, I'm going to plant some rare miniature plants in a bioactive grow bin. I pre-recorded this film and increased the playback speed by about 3x to save some time. Now I'm going to share whatever thoughts and tips come to mind. By the way, I have a very detailed step-by-step tutorial on how to make a bioactive grow bin from start to finish. I've linked that up in the video description, end screen, and info card. I just added the sphagnum moss into the bin, and now I'm adding some Pinus radiata chips, which is just a kind of bark from a pine tree. It's really good for horticultural use. I find that the microfauna like it. This right here is a rare Selaginella. I believe it might be from Borneo. I'm going to place that into the bin and find a good place for it. What I often do is I grow plants in these deli containers. As you saw, the smaller container I took it out of. I often grow plants in those because it's good for quarantining. That way I can get a lot of new different plants and keep them all separated in their own containers to avoid any kind of contamination from insects and disease. And then when I'm confident that things are healthy and it's been a few months and I don't see any disease, and then I want to put them all into a larger grow bin like this, I go ahead and do that. Right now, what you see is Biophytum secupii, which is a very small species in the genus Biophytum. It's a really cool little plant that looks kind of like a palm tree. The leaves right now are folded downward, and so it looks a little bit weird, but normally the leaves fold out and look more like a regular palm tree. Here I've got some Neomortonia rosea, which is a miniature kind of vining little plant, and it gets beautiful flowers that look like orchids, and they have fringe around them. They're really unique, interesting plant, and the flowers are huge compared to the size of the foliage. So really cool plant. I've actually never had it bloom yet. As you see here, I just broke the plant in two, and then I put part of it back into the container. That's because I want to keep some of that in there and possibly grow it out and put it in another container as well, or take a few cuttings from it. What I try and do when I'm planting these bins is I think about the way the plants grow, how big they grow, how fast they grow, and so forth, and then I try and position them in such a way that as they fill into the bin, they'll all kind of be sort of in harmony with each other, and they won't be running into each other and so forth. Obviously, I have to make some adjustments sometimes, but I try and think about that. So the plant that I have here that you just saw is a miniature Pilea species. I am taking some cuttings from that and going to put those in there, and I'm going to leave the mother plant in that container and do cuttings for some other bins as well. I should point out that that is a good thing to do, to take pieces of plants and put them into various different locations and different bins. That way, if something happens and the plant crashes, or there's like a mold outbreak or a disease or something, that way you have some of that plant in another bin elsewhere so that you're not going to lose it. Now this right here is a Markgravia species brown, and there's a little bit of a Octoblephrum moss in there as well. There actually is a micro orchid in there called Pleurothallus dressleri. It's extremely small, one of the small species of orchids. There might be a couple that are smaller than that, but it's definitely down there. And it's really beautiful, though. It has netted, kind of veined leaves with really beautiful coloration, and then it's got amazing reddish flowers. So you should look that up as well. Again, that's Pleurothallus dressleri. Really cool little orchid, but not a beginner plant. Definitely not a beginner plant. Here, so I've got some different mosses and liverworts and things that I have in a deli container. I kind of took pieces of things from here and there when I was working on stuff and just threw it all in that container and just kind of let things grow out, and now I am putting those into these grow out bins. It's great, these bins, because you can put all kinds of plants and put things in there, and then you can take moss and liverworts and you can put them in between the larger plants, and that way they fill in there and everything starts to look natural, and the plants grow amazingly healthfully in these bioactive grow bins, and that's why you should check out that tutorial and try these for yourself. They're not too hard to make, and the payoff is huge. Right there, I just put in some leaf litter, which is going to help with the bioactive environment, and it's going to provide food for these springtails, which I'm pouring in. Springtails are just little insects that eat mold and decaying matter, and it's also going to provide food for isopods. These are dwarf white isopods right here. So I'm going to dump a few of those in there, and then that completes the bioactive grow bin. We're going to mist that, and it is good to go. If you want more videos like this one, as well as tutorials, unboxings, experiments, and much more, hit the subscribe button and click the bell to get notified whenever a new video is ready.